going to draw this chart, 3 columns, 4 rows, and write fraction, decimal, percent. Fraction, decimal, percent.
Especially those of you that you didn't do so well on the
And I'm going to fill in 3 of them.
instead of talking, side talking about something that's not even related to this. You need to pay attention. This is hard Spanish. You guys are capable of doing this.
Okay.
Back to the
I wish this first one didn't start out so easy because y'all know the answer to this one. Okay? But they're sometimes going to give us a fraction and they're going to say, I want you to make it into a decimal. Sometimes they'll give us a fraction and they'll tell us to make it into a percent. Okay? So these are 3 different ways they're going to give us numbers and then they're going to tell you to make it into others. So I'm going to show you how to make it into each one if you already don't know. Yes?
I think I know the answer.
Okay, so the first one, what I want to encourage you to do, this one happens to be easy, and that's why I said I wish it wasn't half, because we all know what half is, okay? But here is the mathematical way to do this. Does anybody know how I can find the decimal or percent of this, not because you already know what a half is, but because you're doing it mathematically, because you're always not going to know, or you're not always going to know. What? How do I find the decimal if I didn't just already know that a half?
Mention like the 2 times something that makes 10 or 2 times 5 equals
That's a good plan, Nicholas. I like that. Okay, so that is one way. I'm going to teach you another way first, but then I'll also show you Nicholas's way because that's a good one. Anybody else? Okay, this says 1 divided by 2. That's what you're going to do. 1 divided by 2. Now I know that doesn't make sense in your brain because 2 won't go into 1. Okay, and that's where you have to do a decimal. Okay, so we're going to put a decimal here because why? There's always a decimal at the end of every number even if you can't see it. Okay, so will 2 go into 1? No. I need to do what right here? Everybody remembers that? Add the 0. 2 going to 10 how many times? 5. 5 times 2 is 10. Very good, and move your decimal up. The answer to this 1/2 is 0.5 or 0.5, however you want to say it. Okay? Now, the way Nicholas did it, or thought about doing it, is another good way. Okay? He was saying, let's get 2 to 10. Okay? And so from 2 to 10, what would I do? Times 5. Times 5. And 1 times 5 is 5. Do we know how to write 5/10 as a decimal number?
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody remember that? You go, this is in the 10th spot. So we know we need a 5 there. Everybody remember that? So way to go, Nicholas. That was exactly right. You can do it like that. Not always will you be able to choose something to go into 10 or 100. Okay? So this one happened to work. Okay? Not all of them will. If it doesn't work, go back to the way I showed you in the beginning. Okay? How do I get a decimal to a percent? Yes?
You count until you get to the hundredths place, and then you put a 0 if you need to.
Okay. Basically, after you get a decimal number, you multiply it by 100 because percent means 100. So 0.5 times 100, who remembers what you do? Yes, Isaac?
Oh, you move to the right.
The decimal. Remember, anytime you're multiplying, you can move a decimal. And multiply, you move to the right. Dividing, you move to the left. So we can move our decimal how many places?
Twice.
2. 1, 2. What does it become? 50. Now we knew that, duh. We knew that 50% was half, okay? But that's the mathematical way to figure it out. All right, let's look at, they give us a decimal. How do I make it into a percent? How do I make it into a fraction? Isaac, how to make it in percent? We already have it as a decimal, okay? So Isaac, how do we do it?
The 0.3, you move it twice.
0.3
twice to the right.
times 100, just exactly what we did Okay, we have it as a decimal, so then we multiply it by 100 because 100 means percent. So 0.3 would become 30. But how do I figure out the fraction?
You put 3 over 10.
Yes, good spot. Good job. This we know is in the 10th spot. So would it be fair to say 3/10? Yes. Okay? Very good. If it was 35, then I would say 35. And what spot is that in? Hundreds. Got it? And then you would reduce it. Does everybody understand how you would do this?
Yes.
Okay, so 0.3 would become 3/10. All right, now the last one, 40%. How am I going to make it into a fraction and into a decimal? Isaac, I called on you already. Somebody else. Esther.
For 40%, you would divide it by 100.
Okay, you can think of it that way. That's actually right. Okay, good. 40%, remember 40, anytime you hear percent, it actually means over 100. Remember? Everybody remember
And
that?
then you could just reduce it.
And then, well, you can know that that's hundredths, and then that's 40. Got it?
But then you could reduce it.
Yeah, and then you could read, well, that's the fraction. I'm doing the decimal.
Yeah,
40
you can make it
hundredths
4/10 instead of
is, yeah, oh, gotcha. Okay, but 4.40 is the same thing as 0.4. Because remember, terminal zeros at the end don't matter. Okay? So 0.40, does everybody see how we got that? If it helps you to have a standard, let me answer this question and I'll show you in just a minute. So then 40 over 100 would become 4/10, which would reduce to 2/5, right? Did I do my math right? Yes. Does everybody see how we did that? Okay. Sometimes this is a good, if you can memorize that, it can be like your standard. So that you would know what happens each time. Okay, we know that a half is really 0.5, which is really 50%. You know that in your head. If you write it down, then you're able to see, okay, where's the decimal here and where is it here? It's at the end. So I moved it twice. See what I'm saying? You can use that as your, I don't know if standard's the right word, your example to always come back to. What did I do here? Oh, okay. All right. Does everybody get it? All right. That's lesson 99.